The following program is sponsored by John Chachis Insurance, your local farmers insurance agent located at 800 Avenue G in Ely, and brought to you as a public service by Ely TV, Channel 3-2 in Ely, Nevada. Ely City Railroad Ad Hoc Committee meeting, May 12, 2014.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have the roll call, please, Jennifer.
Chairman Miller.
Here.
Member Bowers.
Here.
Member Durbridge.
Present.
Member Gianoli.
Here.
Member Marsh.
Present.
Member Patras. Here. Member Robison. Member Sederstrom.
Here.
Member Westland.
Here.
That's all, Chairman.
Thank you. We're going to have public comment. I'd like to read this paragraph. Comments not exceeding 3 minutes in length will be accepted from the general public in attendance. If any are made, there may be discussion upon those comments. No vote, decision, or action may be taken upon matters raised under this item until it is formally placed on the agenda. Comments during discussion items will not be accepted from the general public. Section 805 of the Nevada Open Meeting Law manual indicates that the public body may prohibit comment if the content of the comment is a topic that is not relevant to or within the authority of the public body, or if the content of the comments is willfully disruptive of the meeting by being irrelevant, repetitious, slanderous, offensive, inflammatory, irrational, or amounting to personal attacks, or interfering with the rights of other speakers. Public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, at several of the Ely City Council meetings, I requested copies of the loan documents that would verify what Mark Bassett borrowed at zero interest and for what duration of time for his railroad museum assistance. Rumor has it that the railroad is anywhere from $500,000 in debt or more. That needs to be quieted down. Simple process would be to see what the documentation is to get us to where we're at now. That should be very easy, and yet it hasn't been produced. So I'm asking you of this board, same request. That's all I have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more public comments? Okay, no public comments. We'll continue with old business number 1. Board members, discussion for possible action, review of information requested by the Railroad Ad Hoc Committee on April 10th, 2014 regarding all information pertaining to the White Pine Historical Railroad Foundation's sale of surplus equipment occurring approximately in 2002 and 2003. Bassett, do you have any records of that?
I have no additional records other than the ones I gave you at the last meeting. Those were the only minutes and documents I could find.
Okay. Any questions?
Just for the record. Does that look familiar?
Yes, it's an issue of ghost tracks.
With the ad in it?
Nope. There was another, well, I don't know if the ad's in that one. There was an issue of Mailbox News that I sent out with the ad.
Is this one of the things you printed?
Yes, it is.
Just for the record. I think I made a few copies of that. Passed around. This is just the tab. I didn't find any date on this item, although it's the ghost track contracts commemorative Olympic edition mailed out from Elko. Asks that response to this ad be submitted by 5 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, May 28, 2002. Contact information was for Lance Hunt, who was the CMO, and Mark Bassett was a volunteer at that time. Anybody that wants to is welcome to look at my copy.
So what was the date on that? Excuse me.
Well, I don't know the date on the publication, but the date to respond to this article, and I can testify that I got this prior to that date, was May 28, 2002. It's the only ad I ever saw for that sale of surplus equipment. If Mark has something else, it'd be interesting to see a copy of that. And like Kevin so eloquently put it, it probably doesn't make a bit of difference, but we should probably be a little more careful. I was interested to read the documentation that was provided at our last meeting. There should be a deed for that Whipple car. Should be records of how that was transferred, both from Brian Whipple to the city and then from the foundation, or from Brian Whipple to the foundation, and then from the foundation to Mark. That information should be there somewhere. My only point is that we should be very careful about how we buy and sell things. That's the only ad that I know about, and the Whipple car is not advertised.
So what is the city's policy on selling of surplus property?
We advertise it for a period of time, and then we have a sale in an open meeting. That's the city's policy.
So like 2 weeks or 30 days or something?
And I don't
Maybe
remember.
you
I
don't
think
follow
we
the NRS though?
I think we advertise it twice in the paper. You have to look. And then we have a sale at a public meeting, open meeting, where it's attended.
Any more discussion on item 1 on old business?
No, then we should make a motion to close this.
Okay. I call for motion to close the item 1 under old business.
Second.
I hear a second. Any questions? Motion passed. Item number 2.
We got to vote on it.
Yeah.
We voted?
Just
Okay.
go.
No, we just had a motion and a second.
Just got to ask for the ayes.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you. Item number 2 under old business, board members, discussion for possible action. Consideration of railroad ad hoc committee mandate to propose changes to the structure of the city's ownership of all Nevada Northern Railway assets, including the relationship of the city of Ely to the White County Historical Railroad Foundation. Any discussion?
I think we've provided documentation from the last meeting, forward for the possible actions that could take place for either reworking bylaws or the articles of incorporation to bring them up to date and possibly enjoy the consideration of reforming the way the structure is currently at. So I think that all of us should have those documents from the last meeting. And you may have looked through them or may not have.
I know I wasn't here at the last meeting, so I don't have a lot here.
I move to quash.
Any further discussion?
I'll second that.
Yes, there is more discussion. The whole purpose of what we came together for this ad hoc committee was to discuss this in a detailed way and actually get it out on the table and figure out, you know, how we can work together as a team, or as, you know, two boards, or as actually divestment, and all of those points of view are still in contention. And I would say that there's no purpose of continuing with the ad hoc committee if it's not going to fulfill the purpose of which it was intended when it was formed. And the formation of this ad hoc committee was strictly not to dig up anything else, but was to figure out how we were going to operate together. And, you know, I have strong objection to quashing this until we settle it. The whole purpose we're sitting here, and that I've driven, you know, a couple of thousand miles already, is that we were going to get this worked out. Now, I don't mind moving this back on the agenda, you know, and skipping on to things that we can deal with readily, but I do object to taking it off the agenda and quashing it, or quashing the business.
The reason I suggested that is because I have personally found this committee to be very educational, and I think it has done a lot of good. Actually, of all the things I've looked at, it was most interesting to look at some of these minutes from the White Pine Historical Railroad Foundation back from 2002, and look at what they were discussing and doing. And also we've reviewed some of the minutes of the city council meetings of that time period. And I really feel like what we've suffered from here is, and I'm not going to cast any blame, there's probably plenty to go around, but we had a system in place, but I don't feel like the city council was doing its due diligence in keeping track of what was going on with the railroad. And I don't feel like the Railroad Management Board, I feel like they somehow or other drifted away from what was obviously much more of a involved duty in the running of the railroad. I look at these reports. They had a lot of reports. Obviously, a lot of involvement, special committees, a lot of different people took part. They had a city representative that was involved. And we've somehow or other drifted away from that. I think it's time to simply insist that both parties to this arrangement do the job. And that's why I think it's inappropriate at this time to really change the way it's structured. I'm very disappointed, very disappointed. For example, the simple issue of selling railroad cars. It's a major item. It's a lot of money. And to do it in the absence of paperwork, to me, is appalling. Management board, however they let that happen, didn't get advertised. They apparently entrusted a volunteer to advertise it, gave him duties. It's all right here. And it didn't get done. And then there's no paperwork.
can't find deeds. City council approved a trackage rights agreement between a private corporation, Great Basin Northern, and the city and the foundation. And nobody can find a signed copy. This is no way to run a railroad, quite literally. This is no way to run a railroad. And I think it's time that we simply fall back on the rules that we have in place that have indeed worked for a lot of years and use them properly. That's why I suggest that we set this aside, we quash it. We can always come back to things, but we haven't been doing our jobs either on the city council side or on the management board side. We need to be a lot more careful after a council meeting, making sure that the documents are signed, properly filed. We sell something, it should be a bill of sale, it should be records that indicate what was paid, what they got, what they paid for it. Simple things like that. Just simple booking. Hasn't been done. It's obvious. If it was done, we would have had a whole bunch of information that would come in today based on item number 1. It's not there. Or I'd have to assume it's not there. Either it's not there, somebody's trying to hide it, and that's a problem all of its own. That's a problem we don't fix by changing rules. That's all I have to say.
Any more discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to respond to Marty. It's interesting here. We have gone back literally 10 to 15 years and discussed things actually 20 years old in some cases. And, this is a piece of the history of the railroad. How it was run then, how it's run now, and how it's going to run in the future. And Councilman Westland's correct in saying that documents aren't taken care of. The city should have an archive. At any point, the city should be able to go over to that archive and see what they signed, what contracts are in there. That's the city's responsibility.
That's correct.
The management board's responsibility is this day-to-day operation piece and the oversight of that day-to-day operation piece. And I think that's where we have come to a difference in how these are laid out as far as the structure goes. Obviously, it's dysfunctional. It's completely dysfunctional. And, I would defer to any of my other board members or anything, because this is my comment on this, is that if it's this dysfunctional now, what happens when you guys aren't on the city council? I mean, if you look at it, based from this point forward, we can't fix what we did 10 years ago. It's just not possible. We can't go back into the past. But we can always look toward the future. And that would be, one of my arguments here is that how well is this going to keep transitioning? It hasn't. It has gone well in some councils. In other councils, it hasn't gone well. And that's a portion of the electorate that does that and the ideals that are brought to the table. But in no circumstance have we really had a relationship with the Board of Trustees. We've had almost no relationship with the Board of Trustees. Major decisions on things that will affect the city, and then also on the idea that as a nonprofit corporation and selling an item that has ramifications for the city, or possible ramifications for the city. I don't know whether it does or not. But when we sell these items, that should be simply a function of the management board to get it done and get the documents signed and forward the documents on to the trustees so the trustees can put them into archive. And so the rules that we would have for selling equipment would be different than what the rules that the city has for selling equipment. And it just depends on the situation. So I'm just looking at it from what we're going to do from now forward, not what's happened. There's been bad blood, there's been dirty laundry, there's been everything. I mean, we've thrown enough at the wall and nothing sticks. Nothing sticks. It all falls down. And it's a concern of mine going forward. Anybody have anything else to add?
Yeah, did you want to say something?
Oh, I was not against it.
Oh, okay. I'll have to agree with Carl on a lot of things. Yes, I think all of us agree there's been a lot of problems in the past, but what good does it do us? We just keep day after meeting after meeting to rehash the past. I think we've got to look forward. I've been in business for myself for a long time. I have a business attorney in Reno that I've used for many years, and I took the liberty of asking him to review the bylaws. And he had several comments, among which there are so many ambiguities in there that in some instances they could be determined to be in conflict with the Nevada revised statutes. So in going forward, I really believe, very strongly believe, that we need to do something with those bylaws. Therefore, my position would be to not quash this, but we've got to do something to remove those ambiguities so we don't continue to have confrontational problems. And I think it can be fixed by the attorneys. We have to agree on certain points, but in order to move forward, I really strongly believe these bylaws have to be rewritten to some extent.
May I ask a question? Do you envision changing the basic structure of it, or just fixing
Well, that's
problems
something
in the bylaws?
it could go both ways. Personally, I think the structure does need to be changed. But that's something else we can discuss separately. But I would say at a bare minimum, if the structure remains the same, the bylaws, parts of the bylaws still have to be clarified and rewritten to come into conformance. So, personally, yes, I'd like to see the structure change. My own personal feelings as a resident and taxpayer of the city of Ely, I don't like to see the city of Ely running a railroad, or trying to run a railroad. Liabilities, anything like that, I don't think it's a proper place for our position for the city to be in. How we resolve that, I'm open to ideas. I think back a few city council meetings ago, and Jim Northness got up and he says, okay, there's a lot of problems. Let the city get rid of the railroad and let the railroad sink or swim on its own. And how you resolve something like that from a legal standpoint and a business standpoint, I don't know. But, I personally don't think that the city should be in the railroad business. But at bare minimum, if it decides to stay in the railroad business, then we've got to work on these bylaws to get them clarified.
Well, my take on this was brought up, it's been rehashing things. What was brought up through an audit, and the city council wanted things fixed. Just for the audit. And that morphed from that to the city giving up the railroad. And I just have a really hard time correlating the two. I mean, the city didn't say, do it this way or that. We wanted questions and answers done. And now it came back on this, unless there was one that I didn't have, to change the whole structure of the ownership of the railroad. And it was given to the citizens of Ely. It wasn't given to the board of the Historical Railroad Foundation trustees, nor was given to the management board. It was given to the city of the populace of Ely. And that's what I think sometimes is lost on everybody that comes to these meetings. It's the citizens of Ely's railroad. And we're to decide, hopefully for them, and do something correct, but it's not Mark's Railroad, it's not John's Railroad, it's not Marty's Railroad, it's the citizens of Edy's Railroad. And I think that's what we need to keep in mind. And to me, to change the bylaws, maybe we should just start going down each one of them. Have them, the old ones we have, and go through and discuss them and see what is wrong or what we need to change before we try to reinvent the wheel and see what we're going to do. It's the citizens of Edy's Railroad. It's not anyone else's railroad.
The deeds I have seen all state City of Ely and the White Pine Historical Railroad Foundation. It's on the deeds.
Correct, but the land is all the City of Edy's.
Okay.
The land was given to the City of Ely. It's tough to run a railroad without the land. And the railroad, all the way the railroad to the north, that's all City of Ely property.
The right of way, the land.
The land.
And the track is
Half and half.
the track, yeah. Okay, that's where the confusion comes in.
As I understand it, it was set up in a way that put us on equal footing, us being the foundation interested in operating it, and the city. It gives it really a certain amount of stability and authority and privilege that you wouldn't have any other way. The ability to give grants, being insurable, the city provides a lot of advantages. And so the basic structure, I feel, is good. I think they were very wise when they set it up the way they did. Kind of got gifted. And I certainly recognize that there are faults in the document that need to be corrected, but I see no reason to change the basic structure.
I would totally agree with Dale that the railroad belongs to the citizens. We're all going to come and all going to go. And this is people's railroad. But Marty, when you say we're on even footing as the foundation, the city would not. Therein lies the problem. What you have is the city, the trustees, and the foundation underneath. That's been the crux of my problem forever, is that we be on a comparable footing. If we can achieve that and do something with the bylaws and articles, because they're old, they're poorly written. I don't think anybody that should read those in the legal individual reviews. They need to be updated. But if we can update those documents and put that structure exactly what you said, put us on a relatively level playing field, because half the railroad belongs to the city no matter what happens here outright. What we're talking about is the other half and the way that we interact. The problem is, as I see it, is we're two different types of entities. On the one hand, you have the municipality. Those representatives come and go, different ideas, different philosophies as they come and go. And you've got a business that was established, 501c3, for all of the reasons we understand. It's very important. And that's more of a living entity. It's going to be more consistent. And so you have to morph those two. That's where our approaching comes. How do we interact so that both sides are comfortable? You're also correct, Marty, and both bodies have been remiss through the years. And there's no reason we've got to get over revisiting. We need to do it. We need to do it better. We need some more transparency. People have to understand. It should never come to the point where we have these public disagreements and people start going, gee, really, what's going on? And as Dale said, it's a people's railroad. People ought to understand what's going on. So if we can rework these documents, and these are just the ones we have done, I think are a good start. And the attorney did those in Reno for us. Very capable, very competent. Whether we materially change, reconfigure quality or how we do. That's something we need to work through, but we need to get to that point. We're sitting here in the third meeting,